morning, everyone. It's right at 10 o'clock. We have some feedback here. There we go. It's right at 10 o'clock, so I thought I'd call to order. So we recognize that we're conducting our business today principally on the territories of the Hubachis First Nations, and recognize, firm, and appreciate that fact. We're also conducting our meeting in a hybrid format as well. So we have some folks here in the boardroom, and we'll do a round of introductions there, but then we'll also do a round of introductions online too, just to even that out. What I'll note is that we're live streaming this not just on Zoom, which you have to, in order to attend on Zoom, you would have had to pre-register and get the link, et cetera, et cetera. However, we're also live streaming on YouTube, which is embedded on the ACRD website, as well as on the YouTube channel that we're on. So with that, we do have an email address, which may or may not be relevant for a committee of the whole, responses at acrd.bc.ca. And we'll go right into the introductions, and we'll start to my right and go counterclockwise. Please go ahead.
Good morning, Heather Zenner, Manager of Administrative Services.
Good morning, Debbie Haggard, Councillor for the City of Port Alberni and Vice Chair for the Alberni-Clutha Regional District Board of Directors.
Good morning, everyone. I am the alternate director for Area C, for Director Vida Sega. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Ufama Mariah Coops. I'm here for the Hutchinson Government.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Susan Roth for Beaver Creek.
Good morning. I'm Mike Sparrow, and I'm representing Cherry Creek.
Good morning, Kirsten Johnson, representing Toquet Nation.
Good morning, Daniel Sayano, the CAO for the ACRD.
Okay, we'll go online and we'll come back to Kenny. Bob, go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. Bob Beckett, representing Bamfield, Area A.
And Tom.
Yes, good morning, Tom Steer, Appointed Director, District of Tofino.
And Fred.
Good morning, Fred Boyko, Electoral Area Director for Beaufort.
And Shari.
Good morning, everyone. Shari Minions, Mayor for the City of Port Alberni.
Alrighty. And Penny, you want to introduce yourself?
Oh, good morning, Aklama Penny Cote, Electoral Area Director for Sprout Lake.
No, I took the last one. Sorry. Alex, do you want to?
And good morning, Alex Dyer, General Manager of Planning and Development.
Good morning, Terry Fong, Chief Financial Officer.
Good morning, Cynthia Dick, General Manager of Administrative Services.
Thank you. Okay, so I am John Jack. I am the chairperson for the ACRD and Kuwait's representative. All right. That brings us to the approval of the agenda. We have a fairly full agenda with only a few items, though. So if we can have a motion to approve the agenda as presented. Thank you, Director Roth, seconded by Director Coots. Any comments? I see none. All those in favor? All opposed? The motion carried. Okay, does anyone have any declarations? I don't think that's relevant for today's conversation. That'll bring us to minutes. We only have one piece of meeting minutes. It's the committee of the whole meeting for October 22nd, 2025. Anyone like to move to adopt? Thank you, Director Roth, seconded by Director Cote, because she was moving her. Okay, I'll take any further comments. Seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? Okay, motion carried. Alrighty, that brings us to petitions, delegations, and presentations. Normally speaking, we have a 10-minute maximum for the presentations made by delegations. With that in mind, I'll hold up two fingers or one finger, let you know how much time you got left. Unless I think you're pretty close to finishing, then you may go over a little bit. But if it looks like you're not really close to finishing, I'll just hit pause and ask the board if they'd like you to continue and finish off your presentation. Happens sometimes, so don't find it too jarring. But right now I'd like to welcome Mr. Mike Hughes and Peter Kagi from the Alberni Transition Town Society to make a presentation. Thank you and welcome. Don't forget to use the microphone and hit the talk button. Just should be red when you're using it. Looks like somebody's pulling up your presentation. Alrighty, Oh, there should be a button on your microphone, or else the
Of
other
course.
person can't hear you. There you go.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, area directors and staff. My name is Mike Hughes. We are here to present our Fair Transit campaign we've been working on for the past year. We're a group that focuses on supporting communities and individuals to move towards a lower carbon society. And we look for grassroots ways to achieve that, such as Cycle Alberni. And in this case, promoting the use of public transit instead of the private automobile. And the work we've been doing essentially is taking it to the community, taking it to the city. The city prepared a succinct letter, and I'll just quote quickly from that. The affordable fares would make public transit a viable option for a larger segment of the population, helping to alleviate financial burdens on low and moderate income individuals and families. This would also encourage a shift from private car use to public transit, contributing to reduced traffic congestion and lower greenhouse gas emissions, aligning with broader environmental sustainability goals. It was MLA and Cabinet Minister Josie Osborne who said when we met with her, this is not a needs to have, this is a must have. And any of you who lived in the area long enough would know that we've seen our transit options eroded over time to the point where we're really, as Josie said, the missing link in transit upgrades across the region. So having said that, I'll let Peter take forward.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Chair. Thanks all board members for coming and listening to our little advocacy rant, I guess you'd call it. And what we're basically advocating is for more BC transit subsidies that would allow a more affordable, more frequent bus service from here into Nanaimo. Thanks. As Mike referred to at one time, we used to have a full bus service, but over the years, we've actually fallen behind others on the island in terms of bus service. You've seen that chart there, and it just shows you, for a number of routes, current daily trips and the one-way fare. And if you carry that for all cities across South Vancouver Island, we always end up at the bottom of the list. We have just 2 buses into Nanaimo and the one-way fare of $45. Which really means that we pay about 16 times more than citizens of Qualicum. And of course, partly as a result, we only have 1/10 of the bus frequency of citizens of Qualicum. And when you look at that chart, we actually have the worst intercity bus service of any city or region South Vancouver Island from Campbell River through to Souk, which is a sort of a positive part of that, is that if the province starts to open up subsidies for interregional buses, we should be certainly at the front queue with the route from our city into Nanaimo. So who actually hurts the most in the ACRD? For most communities, 30% of travelers cannot, should not, or prefer not to drive. And if you look at our society, who's hurting most? Firstly, our seniors. If you take this issue into the public and have an engagement issue, more than 50% of the people that actually stop at your stall are actually seniors. And that's more than quarter of our population. And the number one reason that they're keen on buses, apart from shopping, is actually access to medical facilities. And that goes across the whole board, but is especially relevant for First Nations. Anecdotally, we're continually hearing about people needing, or elders, First Nation elders, seeking chauffeuring alternatives because they cannot use the bus service. Okay. So we're proposing a very modest solution, actually going to in effect tripling the bus service, but that's only going to be about six daily buses into Nanaimo with a $5 fare. You can see in the chart
that's where we are now, and that's what we're proposing. We're proposing six buses a day, $5 fares, and for a whole bunch of reasons. We've talked about the fairness, and medical accessibility, but also safety. Buses are 5 times safer than cars. In terms of carbon footprint, which is how we got in the first place, buses have 1/10 of the per passenger footprint of car service. And the more people that we can get into buses, the less traffic congestion on Highway 4. But ultimately, the key reason is to increase independent mobility for that 30% of ACRD population that cannot, will not, and prefers not to drive. And I think it's an interesting observation that intercity bus service tends to stimulate growth. If you look across South Vancouver Island, cities that have good intercity bus service tend to grow faster and grow their tax bases further. You'll see Souk at the top over the last 10 years has grown 31%, whereas Port Alberni is, I mean, it's a solid 8%, but it's certainly less than other communities on South Vancouver Island. And certainly good city bus service would make Port Alberni more attractive for seniors and retirees seeking better mobility and healthcare, certainly attract more tourists, and would certainly help intercity commuters and students. We've done a cost estimate of what 6 trips a day at $5 fare would estimate. This is a rough order of magnitude cost. It'll be about $1.5 million a year to subsidize 6 buses with $5 fares on an annual basis. That sounds like a lot of money, but when you compare it to what Metro Vancouver gets on a per capita basis, they would be receiving through TransLink, they receive about $3 million. That's the equivalent that would be for our population of about close population of 27,000. So we're asking, and we absolutely need your support to advocate for transit subsidies that would support this intercity bus service into Nanaimo. Yeah, thanks. As Mike mentioned, we've been working, it all started, I guess, about a year ago when NDP government and Greens agreed to support more frequent, reliable, affordable intercity transit for both the mainland and South Vancouver Island. But as yet, we haven't seen any action. And hence, we feel that we really need to keep the spotlight on this need for transit and government subsidies. And in advocating for that, we've had growing support, certainly first and foremost from the city. And part of that letter was, support letter was enhanced intercity bus service would support local economies. And then Josie, looking from a more health perspective, suggested that intercity transit is not a nice to have, but it's a must have, that we really need to get onto this agenda and get some more subsidies. We've been supported by First Nations, specifically the Seshat, but anecdotally, a number of First Nation people have been talking to us about the need for bus service. One of our earliest people that support us was the Alberni Clayoquot Health Network, who obviously want to see easier access to mental services in Nanaimo. We've got support from Rotary Club. Whenever we talk to the public, they're very supportive. And we also get support from Better Island Transit in Victoria, who's trying to advocate for the same thing all up the East Coast into Nanaimo and up to Campbell River. So in summary, we need your support in advocating for subsidies to support this intercity bus service. Thanks, Heather. And that's it. So we're advocating for more affordable, more frequent buses into Nanaimo. And thanks very much for your attention.
Great, thank you. Does anyone have any comments or questions? Dr. Cote, please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you through the chair for this presentation. It's really important that we're all aware of what the need is I did have a conversation yesterday with the Health Network coordinator and talked about transportation as one of our key objectives for future lobbying. So yeah, absolutely support this request. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Director Boyko and then Director Haggard.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So there already exists a paid commercial service. So you're saying that that is not sufficient and we should take away a working business and subsidize it by taxpayers to have increased service and cheaper costs? Is that what's being proposed here?
I believe so. At the moment, the private service is like it's a $90 round fare into Nanaimo and back, and it only happens twice a day. And if you have appointments in Nanaimo, you have to catch the first bus of the day, and you better have a booking because if not, you won't get onto it. And I think you've got about a three-hour window in Nanaimo before you have to catch the bus back. And that actually only happens once a day to do the full circuit. So,
Okay,
the current service is pretty inadequate, and other communities across South Vancouver Island, they get huge subsidies to have more frequent bus service. So I think it's time for us to advocate to get a more reasonable subsidy for our bus service.
I think that's valid. And without huge subsidies, $1.5 million onto our budget, if that's a reasonable number from BC Transit, that's a huge number. And I don't think that would fly for most taxpayers in this area. But looking to have taxpayers pay for this will be quite challenging. Thank you.
Thank you. I have next up is Director Haggard, then Director Steer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think this is a very important transportation link. For example, now we have the Hulu Ferry, so you don't have to take your car if you want to go to the city or Vancouver for appointments or just for recreational purposes, but you still have to drive your car to Nanaimo to get to the ferry. So I think this is a very important transportation link, and just for economic reasons and for, yeah, just a great idea. Thank you. I support it 100%.
Thank you for that. That brings us to Director Steer. Is there anyone else? Okay.
Yes, thank you through the chair. Thank you for the presentation, and I'm on the West Coast here out of Tofino. And so one of our challenges, of course, is getting to Port Alberni and then forwarded on to all of your points are very valid and strong, especially around our seniors, our nations, and those seeking medical appointments. One of our challenges, of course, is the lack of frequency and our ability to get to Port Alberni to begin with. So I would love to see the expansion of that advocacy to a more reliable and frequent service from the West Coast into Nanaimo with a stop in Port Alberni. And I just wanted to support and ask, in terms of the advocacy, what is your suggestion from the ACRD perspective? Would it be a letter of support for this to our MLA specifically and to the appropriate ministers that would be involved in these conversations? And I think what you're asking, and to Director Boyko's point about those subsidies to make it more equitable across the regions for transportation, I believe the subsidies would be involved, would actually, and correct me if I'm wrong, on the South Island, those subsidies do subsidize the private service. That would be one question, and then the second, of course, is the best advocacy route that you see for the ACRD to be able to help in your efforts.
Certainly, a letter of support is essential, but I think so far it's been easy to advocate, but we're getting into a new arena when we start to talk about MLAs and ministers of transport and the higher-ups of BC Transit. And I don't know if we're the best to actually advocate it, because when you go there, 70% of the message is who says it rather than what you're actually going to say. So if you say what sort of support, I mean, we can certainly go ahead and do it, but it would probably be more effective if there was some sort of representative from the region and the city that spoke with a whole lot more strength than a couple of guys from a society, underfunded society of do-gooders. Okay.
I would never underestimate the power of people who are together focusing on something like this. So keep involved, and that would be very important. Before I have some comments, we'll go to Director Cote and then Director Sparrow.
Thank you. To staff, or to the board, right now, there was an electoral area directors, UBCM meeting a couple weeks ago, I guess. And, Minister Brittany Anderson was on, part of the delegation, and, I asked her if there was a possibility that, local governments could have those appointments, if the province could allow for time for appointments that we missed at UBCM because of the strike. I always counted on those half-hour staff appointments that I would make at UBCM that weren't provided, weren't available this time. And she said that she would look into it. So I'm proposing that the regional district in the new year, we could do Zoom meetings with the province, with staff, or with the minister, and discuss anything that we were going to at the UBCM. And I think this is one of those issues that would warrant an actual call to Ministry of Transportation staff and whoever else we think, and have that half-hour appointment Zoom call. I think I'd like to propose that as part of in our working group, our work plan for the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Sparrow.
Thank you. This presentation about going to Nanaimo, we had BC Transit here a few months ago. They were talking about their routes in town, also proposed ones. But their route was to go to Parksville, Qualicum, and hook up to them. Yeah, so you know about that route. So this would be a direct route from here to Port Alberni. And have you talked to them about their plan and how you can work together?
No, but I'm more than aware of it. There is a reason why we're proposing, and more importantly, a direct. That's actually where the bus goes now. It goes directly to Nanaimo. And also, if you have a outreach table, and you ask people what route they want, 80% mention a direct route through to Nanaimo. 20% say yes, they would be happy with an over the hump route through to Nanaimo, which is about a 2.5-hour trip. And then of course there's 40% that want both, which good luck. But that's actually the reason why we're proposing. I mean, any bus service is better than none, right? But we're proposing at this time reaching out for a direct line into Nanaimo.
So yeah, would you contact BC Transit and get together and figure out which would be the best one to go there, or is?
Well, we could absolutely we could do that, and that's not. I just think that with some representation from this board and the city would be far more effective than a couple of lone little guys coming in and pitching that. I mean, we can say the right things, but I don't think we have the voice and the power that a real representation from the region or the city would have in this case.
Thank you. Are there any other comments? Dr. Cote, and then I'll take one.
Thank you. Just to comment that the Health Network is working on this also.
Right. All right. Thank you so much for your presentation. I have a few comments. So good timing in this conversation in that I just had a meeting between myself and the new chair of the Regional District of Nanaimo, is recently appointed, Stuart McLean from Area H, whatever, Dashwood kind of area. But it also included the CAO there, Doug Holmes, as well as Daniel. So one of the things we discussed in that conversation was what interregional transit might look like, because that's something that's very important to Nanaimo. So they have their connection with Ladysmith, and as far as I know, they're working on a connection to the Comox Valley as well. So them being the central hub in some way, shape, or form kind of makes sense to them. So this is an active conversation. That would likely mean that the first thing that would be considered would likely be just over the hump to Ravensong Pool in Qualicum, because that's a bit of the transit hub there. It's not perfect, but it is something that may likely attract more attention from the MLAs in the area, as well as government subsidy. The reason why I think that's important is that the MLA for Nanaimo South is George Anderson, and he's the parliamentary secretary for transit. And so this is something he cares about. It's not just the Professional Reliance Act that he cares about. So that's someone we can have a conversation to. Director Cote mentioned Brittany Anderson. I think that's another person who is going to be a strong advocate, let alone someone like Josie Osborne in the area understands the value of transit. Coming from the West Coast, just like Tom Steer had stated, transit's near and dear to the heart there. And so I think we have a list of MLAs that could be important, as well as looping in Minister Spencer Chandra Herbert, who is the Minister for Indigenous Relations and Reconciliation. I think anything that has a transit aspect to it is going to appeal to First Nations, because a higher proportion of our citizens either don't drive or can't afford a vehicle. We have to remember that the average cost of owning a vehicle is $10,000. Like now, the average cost of owning a vehicle on a yearly basis is 10 grand. Now, if you were to take away new vehicles, it goes down, the median becomes around 8,500 bucks. 8,500 bucks is quite a bit, especially when it comes to housing affordability. That's the difference between a 2-bedroom apartment and a 3-bedroom home, at least in the Alberni Valley. So when it comes to affordability, if there are things we can do as a community to help citizens choose to have only one vehicle, we're saving them an average of probably 8,500 bucks a year. And like, that's the math there, because it's not just the people who have cars. It may be people who choose to give up a car to save money to maintain their living or their lifestyle, especially people who are aging in place. So there are things we need to do from the perspective of the whole of region to really think on this, because $1.5 million should be subsidized. I think the province should step in and do that. But I think also it's worthwhile considering from a value to taxpayer perspective, because in the Alberni Valley, let's say we have 20,000 people and half of them pay taxes. Well, that's 150 bucks a year. It's 150, that's 10 bucks a month, pretty much, a little bit more. So that's not outside of the realm of possibility, because that's quite a bit, that's like 50 times less expensive than car ownership. And that's just for this part of the program. Transit would be a bit more if it was actually going to be reliable and people would rely on it. But a big portion of this is getting to Nanaimo General Hospital and the medical services that exist in Nanaimo, even Parksville, Qualicum too. I think it's worth considering that we spend some resources on lobbying and leveraging all of the MLAs I've listed, and really even having coordination conversations with First Nations involved, because Taoiseach Hupatchison will be interested. Our territory is near Banfield, but about 40% of our people live in the Alberni Valley. So we care about that as well. So this is something where if we're looking at value for citizens, this is something that does pay for itself if it gets to a threshold where people can see it as a viable alternative. But it's one of those services that is judged based on its usage once it's an appropriate service, not on anything else, which is a hard pill to swallow for some folks. That's fine. We don't have to have that conversation if we actually get the subsidies. So let's work together on seeing if we can get some subsidization, not even to the level of Metrovan, and see what we can do with that. So that may be a hard sell in this fiscal environment, but the actual quality of life improvement is something that is approaching that of affordable daycare, I think. So I think it's worthwhile considering. I think we should perhaps have a conversation about how we're going to lobby for these things, as Director Cote has already mentioned. And I think we also have to note that this would be apportioned in some way, shape, or form, where the city ends up paying for most of it anyway, but they've already proven the value of transit with their system. So I think that's something that we should consider in moving forward. I can commit to continuing to have those conversations with the RDM because they're the most experienced when it comes to interregional connections. May not be perfect. We'll have a conversation about the direct route to Nanaimo, but we'll go from there. And because interregional transit exists north of the Duncan area, it's likely that we won't need to see subsidization of private operations because public options exist that cost $4. So that's interesting and worthwhile at least considering applying that pressure. So yeah, thanks. Thank you again for your presentation. Thanks. Appreciate it. Mike, do you have any final comments? Sorry? Mike yeah, does Mike have any final comments?
No, I think you spoke very well to the most pertinent aspects of this. And we look forward to continuing our involvement and working with you if we can. Thank you.
I didn't even talk about climate change. All right. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so with that in mind, I think that's it for our presentations. That brings us into correspondence, of which there is none. Thank you, Director Coots. And that brings us right into the heart of the matter, discussion of our proposed initiative cases, our picks, which I find very whimsical. I'd like to welcome Terry to the podium and please take it away when you're ready.
Thank you. I'll just get my PowerPoint up here. It's delayed. Too many laptops here.
It's a bit awkward, but it's okay. Please go ahead.
I know. I think we should get a new podium. That's going to be a bit easier. But anyways. So welcome. Today we are kicking off the 2026 to 2030 financial plan process. The fact that 2030 is in the name is kind of scary and exciting. We are kicking this off a month earlier than we normally do. Just thought it would be a good time to talk about any sort of new proposed initiatives and get some board feedback on those before we really start diving in. There's been a lot of budgeting happening internally with our different departments, especially on an operation aspect, and a lot of work planning and discussions, but thought it was time to bring this component to the board today. So what is the purpose of today's presentation? It's to identify those new things that we think either staff are feeling like are needed or we are kind of hearing from the board that want to be done this year and looking for direction before we incorporate them into the financial plan. New process for probably, I think, last 3 years, but we used to find it hard to identify these things because they were like woven right into the numbers of the financial plan. And this way we discuss them separately first and decide if you even want them to be put in with all the other initiatives that we already have going. So it hopefully gives us a little bit of an idea of the resources and community needs. In the RFD, there is quite a large list, a very large list of ongoing or previously approved initiatives. We've also included in there any legislatively required initiatives for 2026. That includes like the election and the process involved in the local government elections that will occur in October, as well as the board remuneration review committee that is part of the policy. So we've added all of those because they're not really discretionary for the board. They need to be done, so they will be incorporated into the budget, but will not be discussed today. So basically what a pick is we've tried to divide them into 4 categories. So it's like service level changes, non-legislated projects, new asset acquisitions, any sort of feasibility studies for future services. And we kind of have laid them out. It's kind of a quick 2-page. We haven't fully dove into some of these projects. We're just wanting to get some direction before we dive too far. And these topics often become the focus of our community engagement because they are kind of the things that we are looking for feedback on. So they'll be part of the engage portion of the process. Each pick, there's 11 today, will be presented individually by staff members. And they'll just briefly describe it. They're not going to go through the whole report in detail, but they'll give a brief overview, give you an opportunity to ask questions. We would like for you to make a decision after each one, but if there's more information that you request or you'd like to defer that decision, definitely an option, but I think it's going to be easier to do them one by one than in a group. So your options basically are to like decline the initiative and just say you don't support it in general. There's some of them that have financial implications. So in the past, we've done some where, yes, we want to proceed, but only if you get 50% grant funding or 100% grant funding. So we can put some conditions on the proceedings if you'd like, or we could delay to a future year or a future meeting if you are wanting more info.
Sorry. Sorry.
Just some feedback. I'll wait a sec. You got it? Okay, so now I think I will pass over to Alex, and he's got our first 3 picks. And so we'll start with the GIS strategy.
Thank you and good morning. So this initiative would aim to build upon GIS services and capabilities within the region by firstly developing a formal strategy that will assess the capacity for managing the current needs we have within the geospatial services and the ability to respond to emerging needs within the region. And secondly, by adding an additional staff resource that would meet demands highlighted by the strategy. So geospatial service needs within the region have grown. Our current services at capacity. The focus right now is on core duties in managing the geospatial database that we do have and producing mapping outputs and analysis to support the projects led by the ACRD. Adding to that in the coming year will be implementation of a regional NextGen 911 service that is a legislative requirement, and it will see the ACRD being the regional aggregator for all civic addressing and spatial data from our community partners in the region. Additional demands are highlighted in the report. I won't go in detail, but we are experiencing additional demands in things like supporting the EOC, supporting emergency program initiatives, the OCP mapping, and also just managing an overall community desire for greater transparency and accessibility in how we present our mapping information to the public. Also highlight there's also a strong interest in collaboration on shared GIS and mapping resources within the region, and that was expressed by the respondents to the interjurisdictional government survey that was completed as a part of the development approvals process project that was completed earlier this year. So developing the plan for regional GIS services will help us manage all of this work. The strategy would be developed in the first half of 2026 and paired with discussions on with partnering communities on what we do with the NextGen 911 service agreements. That strategy would be completed by existing staff resources within the 2026 work plan. And if the strategy and need assessment highlight a need for supplementary resources, the department would seek to add a GIS technician as an additional staff resource in the second half of 2026. That additional staff resource would be funded through multiple ACRD services, recognizing the broad support that's provided by GIS in many of the service areas we have in the region. And I'll just also highlight the regional district would investigate grant options to help fund that position, including some NextGen 911 grant funding that will be available in the coming year, as well as support from our community partners. I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for that presentation. Does anyone have any comments or questions? I will go with Director Cote, Director Boyko, and then Director Steer.
Thank you. From what I've been learning about AI, I'm thinking that a lot of information can be brought to others, like staff that are needing the mapping and data. But I think I'd rather see us invest in AI training so that people could use the data and mapping rather than having another person. So I'm just wondering if that would be something that we should be looking at rather than like hands-on person. Thanks.
Thank you. I think that's a Daniel question. Maybe Alex? Yeah.
I agree that we have been and we can be utilizing AI to leverage our capabilities, and especially in GIS and mapping. I think that would be a good thing that we would want to highlight as part of the strategy. So we can look at when we look at a strategic plan about how we manage the current capacity and how we recognize what the current capacity is, but also how we improve upon that and how we move it to the next level. I think we want to look at all the tools we have available to us to help support staff, and I think AI would be a part of that strategy.
Go ahead.
I'm on the executive of the Municipal Insurance Association, and I'm seeing firsthand how they're utilizing the AI and how it's making things much more efficient for them. So I'm just seeing that that's something that we should be investing in rather than old school. Thanks.
Go ahead.
And just want to clarify though that when we talk about AI and gaining efficiencies, you're still, there are efficiencies to be gained, but we still need to develop a strategy around the use of AI, which is different than a strategy for GIS. And with all of those efficiencies at its core, there still is a requirement for verification of information for its validity and whatnot prior to any release, right? And so unlike other organizations, all government organizations do have that requirement of data protection and ensuring that the verification of information going out is actually being accounted for by somebody who holds a position, right? And so I just don't want to blur the waters too much about what we're talking about. So the GIS is not an AI service. So just want to make sure that we're not confusing matters.
Thank you. I have Director Boyko and then Director Steer next.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So I agree that the GIS might be helpful for some things, and I'd like to see some efficiency gains, especially in the planning department, and I think this could be helpful. But at the same time, I do agree that technology is changing, and not necessarily AI as AI could be used, but it is quite useful in a lot of things, such as instead of rewriting the whole log train trail management plan, we can use AI to shorten that up and give us our efficiencies there. But this is just an overall statement I want to say about adding the services. I'm not getting any pressure to add services from anybody in Beaufort. So I want us to focus on core services. And honestly, we are in the midst of a largest generational grocery affordability crisis right now. Anything we're adding right now is going to hurt people through taxes dramatically. So this board and the past board as well in the past 5 years has raised the overall taxation rate 50.7% in the last 5 years. So we need to take that into account whenever we're making decisions like this. So I can see there's some potential use for GIS in the future, but I'd like to see exactly how more it be applied. But my vote for this would be to defer this for now until we can get some more information and show how it would be useful. Thank you.
Thank you. That brings us to Director Steer.
Yes, thank you through the chair. Thank you for the presentation. I'm supportive of a regional GIS strategy as a general concept, and looking at the allocated 50 hours of staff time that would be incorporated into the work plan. I think we're, and many people in this room, I think, are going to be struggling is adding that FTE position there. And I noted in the presentation from Alex that you had talked about this, develop the strategy, and within that strategy, if it is identified that an FTE position would be there. That my question then is, at this point in time, with that the potential of a $94,000 addition of a GIS technician, would that be incorporated into the budget, or would we be having those conversations after the strategy was developed and it was indicated that FTE position would be required or proposed to be required?
I can take that one. So we put the 94,000 because that is kind of the annual estimated cost for the position. We would be putting it into the budget on like a prorated basis of when we thought that would be, which was kind of like Q4 would be when we put it in for this year, but we would build that in. I am kind of hearing that maybe we just put the scoping and strategic plan for regional GIS in, and then potentially if there's a resource request out of it, that become back as a 2027 pick. That could be an option for the board to consider as well.
Thank you, Terry. That would be my suggestion at this point, and I would be very comfortable supporting the strategy. And then, as you've indicated, looking back once we have that information forward, to be looking at the 2027 budget year.
Thank you for that. Any further comments? The only thing I would add to this conversation is I don't think that adding a GIS tech is technically a new service. It would be within an existing service that is planning, just general planning, I guess. Yeah. So I think there's a lack of GIS technical knowledge in the Alberni Valley and beyond. I think there's only one First Nation in the Monmouth First Nations that has a GIS tech. This is something where there is the opportunity to potentially farm this out in some places. But I think if folks are not looking at this from the perspective of needing it, but wanting to see it as a part of an overall plan, then we can probably do that work. I would note that I think GIS technicians, as well as planners and engineers and that sort of thing, they can certainly benefit from AI, but I don't think we can necessarily see it as replacing or saving money, but rather expanding productivity once they're fully known. We can't rely on AI to do much beyond create stories and kind of dumb internet things right now. You need trained people to actually certify the work that they're doing for the most part. And so that certification process may be required. So somebody would still have to be at the helm of an AI moving forward. So expanding our productivity would matter. I don't think we're at a place where AI can take over for much, but can help individuals do more if they're properly trained. So I think there's something there to that. I've Daniel and then Director Roth and then Alex. No, okay.
Just wanted to add to the conversation that the discussions that have been had amongst all the communities within the ACRD around the GIS service is that there is a gap. There is certainly a desire to collaborate, but the challenge is in the timing of creating the opportunity, right? So I think for the time being, as an example, the city is posting and looking for some GIS staff. And of course, if we were to collaborate, the time is, the time to build something regional is when everyone else wants to build it. And once they start hiring their own staff, then what we start seeing is duplication of services across our communities. So, part of the development of a strategy is to try and at least maximize those discussions and see whether or not there's a regional strategy that can then be expanded to partners. But the timing is also important. So if we end up with a strategy where we have 2 or 3 parties that want to pay into it, what happens if they want to get started halfway through 2026, but we're only planning on having a discussion for 2027? It just becomes a little more challenging for the collaboration and the timing, versus if it's built in and we have the ability to move forward. If the board agrees to various agreements and a strategy, then we're able to move forward in a more timely way. I know it does create risk, and I do certainly hear what Director Boyko was saying in terms of sunken costs and tax impact. So nonetheless, we wanted to have that discussion with the board.
Thank you. Director Roth?
Thank you. I think probably GIS is one of the most important services, like one of the most important things that we have here. When I come in here, usually it's something from that I want information about. I do like the idea of putting it off though to the 2027 budget year. I also want to note that AI is only probably accurate 40% of the time now. I read a report recently and I think it can be quite dangerous. So I think we should let that go for a while and grow with it maybe, but be very cautious. Thanks.
AI is good through filtering through a bunch of data and then putting it into context, but actually taking wisdom from that context is still something a human needs to do. Okay, I think that's that for that one. Do we want to continue with the presentations, or do we want to do the motions?
If we could do the motion and just leave it to the scoping part, that would be great. I think we'll do them one at a time if that's all right with you, Chair.
Okay, so what is the inclination of the board itself as a whole? We've heard that there is value in GIS, but there's also value in potentially doing a bit more work on seeing the context and the value. So that may be different than the motion that's presented here. Yeah, please, yeah, go ahead.
It sounds like at least two people have mentioned alternative one in the report, and so I'll just read that out in case that resonates rather than shooting at the hip. So alternative one in the report on page 24 is develop the regional GIS strategy in 2026 and consider GIS staff resource needs in the 2027 budget year.
Do you want to move that, Dr. Roth? I saw you nod. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
Seconded by Dr. Coots. Okay, any further comments? Dr. Sparrow?
Is this going to impact the 911 services if we delay another year because they're sort of chomping at the bit to get some GIS stuff? Or is that going to be okay?
I can speak to that. Thank you for the question through the chair. That Next Gen 911 service is rolling ahead, and there is a lot of time dedicated in the 2026 work plan to do that. We are moving away from clarifying the current data and moving into discussions about how we implement the service with our partners in the community. So there will be a lot of work on that in the first half of 2026, and that is within the existing work plan of the GIS analyst.
Thank you. Any further comments? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor? All opposed? Okay, motion carried. So I would note that that's the alternative one identified in the briefing note. That brings us to the second pick, and that's on development review. Please go ahead, Alec.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
go ahead.
Chair, so this initiative relates to the implementation of the recommendations from the Development Approvals Process Review Project that was completed earlier this fall. The report recommended a number of measures to increase efficiency and improve the overall effectiveness of the development approvals framework. The work proposed in 2026 would focus on short-term measures that would intend to improve public transparency in the process and procedures updates that would intend to streamline and speed up approval processes where appropriate. The work would be led by existing planning staff and included within the 2026 work plan. It would include a review and update of the development procedures bylaw, an application fee structure review as well, as updates to application forms and communication materials to be more accessible and informative for the public, advisory planning commission meeting updates, and improvements to our online application tracking system. It is anticipated that this project would involve about 140 hours of planning staff time to review and prepare recommendations to bring back to the board. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody? Dr. Sparrow?
Thank you. I heard this week, let alone that our processes are somewhat slower than our competitors in Nanaimo, Parkville, and anyplace else. So it's a good time to review because they said, yeah, we're slowing ourselves down and we're not helping ourselves out. So this review is a common thing to have. Good, thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Any further comments? Dr. Sparrow, would you like to move that?
Sure. Can we read it out or just say? Okay. Okay. For the committee to hold direct staff to include proposed initiative case 2 development review process update in the 2026-2030 draft ACRD financial plan.
We have a seconder. Thank you, Dr. Cote. Sorry, Dr. Johnson, I saw you. Any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? Okay, motion carried. Thank you. Alrighty, that brings us to case 3.
Thank you. So similar to the previous one, this initiative also relates to the implementation of the development approvals process review project. In this case, focusing on the building side. So it would focus on improvements of, again, efficiency and effectiveness of the building approval process that we have. The work proposed in 2026 would again focus on those short-term measures that would intend to improve the transparency in the work that we do in reviewing building permit applications and process updates to streamline where appropriate. The work would be led by the planning manager and the building inspectors within the existing 2026 work plan. It would include a review of the building bylaw, and we would look to modernize building regulations to align with the provincial requirements that have been updated in the last few years. Review of the fee structure there again, improve expired permit management, consider exemptions for simple structures in certain cases, and minimize unnecessary cost barriers where we can. Communication updates would also include updates to the ACRD website, new brochures and FAQ materials to help people along the process, some visualizations of that process as well, and simplifying language to be a bit more accessible to the public. And then finally, also investigate options for greater information available and mapping data available about building approvals and application status to help promote some transparency in that service. This is anticipated to take about 100 hours of our planning and building staff time to review, and again, prepare recommendations to bring back to the board. Thank you.
Great. Dr. Haggard?
Both the previous pick and this one was recommended in the report we received, so I'd like to move that the committee of the whole direct staff to include proposed initiative case 03 building bylaw and communication review in the 2026 to 2030 draft ACRD financial plan.
Yeah, thank you for that. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Dr. Sparrow. Any further comments? Dr. Sparrow?
Thank you. I hope this is going to slowly lean towards what they do in the NIMO, where you can go online and you can see if the person behind you has a building permit and when it issued. And sometimes buildings are built around here and there's no permits. They say they have them. They don't know. But if that's a long-term goal way out there, then that's great, because then we can actually keep track of each other. Good. Thank you.
Cool. Any further comments? Seeing none. All those in favor? All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. All right, that brings us to case 4. Sprout Lake Community Parks, Crown Land.
Great. So the next 3 are going to be presented by Michael McGregor.
Thank you and good morning. My apologies for not being in person today. I'm fighting a bit of a cold, so I might need to take a water break as well. My first pick today is the Lot 950 Crown Land application to the province. Now this would see the ACRD submitting an application to the province in order to manage the recreational use for Crown Land Lot 950 in Sprout Lake. So this has come up because of a subdivision at the end of Taylor Arm Drive that has provided a parkland dedication that borders this Crown Land section. There is existing recreational use and infrastructure for trail network that kind of goes in and out of our newly acquired parkland and this Crown Land section. This has been discussed previously at the Sprout Lake Parks Commission. And also the idea of, incorporating a historical roadway section as a fire access or an emergency access route was discussed at that commission meeting as well. I should note that, that is out of the scope for the Sprout Lake Parks service. And if that's the intention of the board to include that in this proposal, we'd have to bring in Sprout Lake Fire or emergency services to partner on an application. Happy to discuss questions on this.
Cool. Questions, comments? Dr. Cote?
Thank you. In your report, on page 29, it's the risk evaluation. There is an existing dilapidated float structure attached to the shoreline. There is no longer any structure there that I've seen in quite a while. So that's incorrect information there. The Sprout Lake Parks have been looking at Lot 950 for at least 10 years, identifying it that there's a nice little beach area there that would be really great for a asset for the community at large to use. There's also a hydro line that comes into Lot 950. It's quite a large lot, but very little beachfront. So the use of the whole lot is not really of great interest, but I don't know that we could subdivide off anything. But there is a hydro line that comes in off the highway that's quite close to the end of this new development, and the end of Taylor Arm Drive, which if it was linked up, gated, that possibly the fire department could use as a alternate access to properties, because we're very limited when, if there's a incident anywhere along the highway that cuts off Lakeshore Road going into quite a number of lots. There's probably up to 500 properties back past the West Bay or the Sprout Lake Landing that would be cut off by any interruptions there. So the fire department could not put equipment in if there was an incident there, but people could still get out, or maybe the truck could get in the backside. So there was different reasons why we were looking at lot 950. And I support this. It's not a lot of money, so getting to the next stage. Thank you.
Would you like to move the motion then?
I would like to move the motion that the committee of the whole direct staff to include proposed initiative case 4, Sprout Lake Park Community Parks Lot 950 Crown Land acquisitions in the 2026 to 2030 draft ACRD financial plan.
Go to seconder. Thank you, Director Roberts. And welcome back, by the way. Any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? Motion carried. So, okay, so that brings us to case 5, Sprout Lake Marine Patrol.
Thank you. So this next pick revolves around the Sprout Lake Marine Patrol operations funding for 2026. So since 2009, Transport Canada has provided the majority of funding for the operations of Sprout Lake Marine Patrol Service. Our current 3-year grant agreement is expiring, and we do not have secured funding for the operations of 2026. We also have not been informed by Transport Canada whether funding will open in 2026 or in the future. So we've been in a holding pattern there. But it does usually take, opening for 3 months and then 6 months of review from Transport Canada before we hear back. So I do anticipate that we won't have secured transport funding or Transport Canada funding for 2026. And that kind of puts us in a bit of a challenging position for this service. We have identified a few different options for the board to consider. The staff recommendation is that we utilize capital reserve funds to keep the budget consistent from 2025 and operate the service as is, with the hopes that Transport Canada does open the boat safety grant and we're able to apply for 2027 and future years there. The few options that we've addressed as alternative options would be, we could increase tax requisition. The max tax requisition is approximately $80,000, so we'd essentially be doubling the requisition from 2025. Another option is to reduce the level of service while maintaining 2025 requisition levels. And that would mean, cutting the amount of staff hired and other programs such as training, utilization of the boat, communication initiatives, etc. And then the last option identified is, we could temporarily pause the service and wait until Transport Canada, is able to inform us of the future of that funding program. Happy to answer any questions on this one.
Thank you. Through the chair to Mr. McGregor, when we put in our application to Transport Canada for this program, I know we've done it for quite a number of years now, and most of Canada does not put in an application for this. So I'm just assuming then that this program is still going to be running in the future. I know that we've benefited from it for quite a long time. Could we possibly, or do we ask for a letter of support from the Coast Guard? I know that Ian Arkley, I'm not sure if it's the Coast Guard or it's an organization, the Marine safety that's out of Port Alberni. Ian Arkley is on that, and he's the one that brought this program to the regional district. I'm wondering if they could provide us letters of support saying what a great benefit that this program has been, that it utilizes the ability to give students a job, and that it provides information to schools. It's the Kids Don't Float program. It's a huge benefit to our community. So I'd really like to see that all happen. I'd hate to see this be postponed at all. I know that the program funding is not really aligned with our budget. And when the program starts, we've received the funding after the program has started. So we do have the reserves that we could use. So I'd like to make sure that we get this in place for this year, for 2026 at least, and look at the possibility of what we can do if we don't get the grant going into the future.
Thank you. I have Terry and then Director Haggard.
Thank you. I just want to be clear that we have reached out to transport staff, and there have been told that there has been no discussion of this program, and they do not anticipate an intake anytime soon if it comes back. So that's why we're really thinking we have to make a plan for 2026. We don't think we will be getting a grant for 2026 at the very least, but we also are getting indications that this program might not be coming back moving forward.
The federal program. Yeah. Dr. Haggard?
Thank you. Is the regional district eligible to apply for the Canada Summer Jobs Wage Subsidy Program? Terry?
We haven't before, but yes, we are eligible. I seem to remember that we could look into it for this one. We have looked into it for some other things and the timing wasn't fantastic, but definitely an avenue that we are going to approach. But yeah, great suggestion.
I think this would be an ideal situation for this program. Even if you only get one of them supported, it helps, right?
Great idea. Thank you. Dr. Boyko, please go ahead.
Well, thank you, Chair. When we talk about the reserve fund, is this the entire ACRD reserve fund or something else? Like, how are we allocating that? And what budget's that coming from and how much is in the reserve fund now?
Terry, go ahead.
Yeah, so no, in a regional district model, each service has its own reserve fund. This reserve fund is solely for like the boat and anything related to the boat. We didn't run the program in COVID year, so we ended up with some additional money in that reserve fund. We will eventually need to replace the boat, so we do need that money. Those pontoon boats are not cheap, but it is an ability for us to maintain service levels for a year till we figure out what is going to happen moving forward. I think off the top of my head, I think there's about $90,000 in that reserve fund. So it would only be an interim measure for 1 year. We wouldn't be able to sustain that moving forward if we don't receive grant funding.
Perfect. Thank you for the clarification. So we'll have to decide in a year, basically the next electoral area people, if we want to continue on the service. Thank you.
Yeah, it's good to think about it now, though, just for this interim year. So I think that's a good medium. So Dr. Cote, with the ideas that were presented by Dr. Haggard, is there one of the alternative motions that could fit or something to add on? And maybe I'll ask you and Daniel to think about that, and then we'll go to Director Roth right now. Thanks.
I was just curious about the COVID year, and were there any problems when we didn't have it for that year?
Michael, did you want to try to take that?
Oh, I wasn't here during the COVID year. Not too sure.
And we're glad you were. Please go ahead, Dr. Cote.
I was here. The COVID year, there was not a lot of people boating on Sprout Lake. The provincial park boat launch was closed. People had a hard time to get their boats onto the lake. Yeah, so there wasn't a lot of people.
The math would be hard because of the reduction in just total number of boats.
Yeah.
Because your point was if there's an activity and it drops, or sorry, if incidences drop, but the activity remains the same, right? Yeah. I don't know that we have that info. Might be a way to predict it though, I don't know. Daniel, any thoughts?
Well, I was going to circle to your initial question. And so I don't think any of the alternative options fits what's being said. I would stick to the original recommended resolution. Obviously, if we do get a different grant, then we wouldn't be drawing that portion from the reserves, but we do need a plan. And in the absence of an increase in tax levels, which is alternative one, then I think the recommended approach is to be prepared to lean on the reserves in 2026 and then come back with a strategy if that program is canceled.
Dr. Cote?
So I'll make the motion that the committee of the whole direct staff to include proposed initiative case 5, Sprout Lake Marine Patrol use of reserve funds to maintain operations in the 2026 to 2030 draft ACRD financial plan.
Thank you. Seconded by everyone, Dr. Roth? She got there first. Any further comments, Dr. Cote?
Thank you. I'd actually like to see if there's a possibility of maybe linking up the Marine Patrol with the fire department. If there's a will from the fire department, I don't know if they would be interested, but there might be some kind of a link there that we could tap in on. I don't know. Thanks.
I'm just picturing a fireboat chasing the Marine Patrol boat now. Sorry. In the hot summer. Okay. Any further comments? Dr. Boyko, please go ahead.
I would say if you want to link the Sprout Lake Marine Patrol, which is a regional service that a lot of people are paying for, to a fire department that is not a regional service but electoral area service, we'd have to be very careful in how we word anything that looks like that to make sure that funding is done appropriately. Appreciate it.
Thank you for that, Dr. Boyko. Any further comments? Okay, so this is on the motion. All those in favor? All opposed? Motion carried. Okay, so that brings us to case 6, Cherry Creek Community Parks and Regional Parks, Historic Horn Lake Trail Planning Project. Michael, is this you? Please go ahead.
Thank you. So this is an initiative from RDN that RDN staff have brought to ACRD staff in the last few months here. It has been talked about for a number of years on their side, but this is not formally on the ACRD's work plan or radar previous until today. So I'll give you a quick history of the trail. This is all coming from RDN and what they've supplied. So the proposal would be to construct a trail that is similar to a historical trail identified through the Qualicum Nation that they utilized to travel to the Alberni Inlet via this route. So in 1856, Hudson's Bay, the Hudson's Bay Company, investigated this route for trading activities. And in 1872, it was developed into a wagon road. But then in 1885, it was abandoned in favor of the existing Cameron Lake Arrowsmith roadway pass. Then in 1911, the trail was surveyed by the province as a gazetted road and is protected as a route for public use. But then there's no further road or trail development that took place after that. When RDN developed the Horn Lake Regional Park there, they identified this 1911 gazetted route, and then that was when the idea of this trail project came underway. And then in 2020 to 2025, the RDN did initial investigations of surveying the gazetted route and discussions with the Ministry of Transportation and Transit with the aim of obtaining a license of occupation and developing that trail within the right-of-way. So in 2026, RDN, they have resources, staffing, and funding to design the trail within that surveyed 1911 road right-of-way. They intend to apply for a Ministry of Transportation license of occupation and coordinate with the ACRD if we so agree to partner in implementing the trail within the ACRD boundary in connection to the Log Train Trail. So some trail details is the total proposed route is 7.1 kilometers that connects Horn Lake Regional Park to ACRD Log Train Trail. 1.6 kilometers is within the Horn Lake Trail route, or within the ACRD of this route. So there's the condition of the trail within the ACRD, is not currently known to the RDN staff. They haven't done First Nations investigation within the ACRD with Seshadra or Hoopesfest Nations. So the request is, does the ACRD support partnering through the planning of this route? I think there's opportunity where the RDN has the resources for surveying and trail investigation. So offloading some of those costs towards them is good, and then coming back with the information to decide if we want to partner on that license of occupation to the province or not is still an option when that time comes later on in the year. And then trail development is anticipated to begin in 2027. Happy to answer questions on this one.
All right, thank you for that. Dr. Sparrow, please go ahead.
Thank you. So it's a 1.6 kilometers in our area, and the rest is all in Nanaimo, because Nanaimo comes a long way down. I assume most is going to travel over the logging roads that are around there, because they have been actively logging in that area the last little while. And you can actually walk down to where the old Horn Lake Road is between there, and I assume it's going to end up at the top of Horn Lake, this connector. But the 1.6 kilometers is fun to travel with. My dog won't even do it, but you have to go around it. It's there's too many trees in that, but it is available, and it is there. I know where it is. I walked it a month ago. But it'd be neat to have happen again. But is that the idea, is to use logging roads mainly?
Go ahead, Michael.
I haven't investigated the route. It would have to follow the gazetted surveyed route that was done in 1911, because that is the public right of way. So whether there's existing, well, my apologies, whether the existing logging roads follow that route or not, I'm unsure. I can share a screen if people are interested in seeing the map that was supplied by RDN just last week.
Follow up, Dr. Sparrow, or
So if you follow the route and it starts at Horn Lake, and the Horn Lake Road, and goes up at about 30-degree angle, if that's the one. No, when that comes down a different area. Oh, it comes with the Taline. Okay, you're gonna go that way. It's a little bit off, but yeah, the first 1 kilometer is very rugged. I can take you for a walk up there one day. But, you better wear some clothes. You don't want to get trashed. But yeah, this is a good idea. If we can move forward to see what it looks like, and then we use existing logging roads up there, because they are logging right now. Pretty well where your arrows is 1.6 points down. That's where they're logging right now, and they clear it right off.
you're not kidding, it comes right down, hey?
Yeah, it's not root grabbing, but it's definitely slippery and explain. You will slide down the hills.
Not me, thank you. All right. Okay, would you like to? Oh, sorry, I can't see. Oh,
Does
it's
it
Terry.
stop
Please
sharing?
go ahead, Terry. Go ahead.
I just want to remind that this currently does not have a service, so we can do the planning phase, but at some point we would have to decide if this would become a trail as part of Cherry Creek Trail or Regional Parks Trail. So just want to make sure that's clear from the beginning, is that this is a project without a proper service, and we're allowed to do that as it is a feasibility approach to things. But beyond that, we will have to designate where that's going and what taxpayers are therefore paying for the trail development and annual costs moving forward.
Thank you. Dr. Minions, please go ahead.
Thank you. Was just going to say that in general, I'm supportive of exploring the feasibility of this. And I think that in the long term, this would be something that would be appropriate in the Alberni Valley service rather than the Cherry Creek service. It feels like something that would be to the benefit of all the residents of the valley long term. Thanks.
Hey, Director Cote, and then back to Director Sparrow.
Thank you. I'd like to see it more information regarding proposals for the regional parks rather than just the Alberni Valley service. I think that this fits well into regional parks.
The interregional aspect would argue towards that, yes. Dr. Sparrow, did you have a motion you wanted to put forward?
Sure, should put down this motion here because it said regional parks. And I remember doing this trail when I was in Boy Scouts. That was a long time ago. And you could walk it then. So yeah, I'll do the motion. That the committee of the whole direct staff to include the proposed initiative case 6, Cherry Creek Community Parks and Regional Parks Historic Horn Lake Trail Planning Project for the 2026-2030 draft ACRD financial plan.
Thank you. I think just including both allows for staff to look into both. Do you want to second that, Director Johnson? Yeah. Now that we're talking about regional parks, it's pretty good. Okay. Any further comments? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor? All opposed? The motion carried. Thank you. Alrighty, how are we doing for time? I note it's 11:20. Do we want to keep moving along? Does anyone need to take a washroom break? All right, let's keep going. So we'll go into item 7, which is Beaver Creek Fire Department CCAN for storage.
Yeah, thank you. And Chief Cobus will be presenting this one.
Morning, Chair. Morning, Directors. This is my first presentation to the board. So on behalf of Beaver Creek Fire Department, we're looking to do our pick is for storage capacity of a 40-foot CCAN in our compound. I don't know if you had an opportunity to look through the pick itself. Just talking about the description is increasing capacity for our storage just in firefighting equipment that we've got, training materials, and stuff like that. And having a 40-foot CCAN with different door capacities on it would be able to organize that a lot more effectively with what we have and everything that we can get out of our hall to create more space to go there. So that's, I think, an opportunity for that is pretty good. With that there, just looking for your input out of that there, and I think it aligns with everything else and just what we're doing in the future with the department is just looking at increasing our capacity. I think with a CCAN like that there, it's not going to be able to maintain it. We'll be able to do a lot of storage space. So open to any questions outside of that.
Okay, we'll go with Director Coots, Dr. Sparrow, and then Director Roth. Dr. Boyko.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Not so much a question, just a comment, stating that as Hochukla said, being in a very rural area with our village, we also utilize the CCAN storage for a lot of our maintenance tools and things like that, and we've had great success. So I am really happy to support this if that is what the area would like. Quacko, you.
Great. Dr. Sparrow and then Dr. Roth.
Okay, thank you for that. So good. My first question was 40-foot CCAN, whatever goes into a 40-foot CCAN stays there forever because you never get to the back. We said multiple doors, so hopefully you can access that. But my question has nothing to do with the CCAN. It has to do with the lot. I know where the fire hall is, where the septic tank is, but I have no idea where the septic field is. And I know you got the compound. Where's the field? We're not putting things on the field, are we?
The field is in the park.
It was in next door. That's where I thought it was.
Correct, yeah. So in the compound itself, which has got crushed and everything else in it. We already put in for the other 40-foot training CCANs are concrete barriers in it to be able to build that up. So there is no septic field in the compound itself where the storage would be.
On the neighbor's property. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I have Dr. Roth and then Director Boyko.
I was just going to make the motion, but perhaps Director Boyko would like to speak first.
Yes. Okay. And yeah, I have you, Director. Okay. Director Boyko and then Director Roberts.
Oh, thank you. I think a CCAN's a great idea. I just questioned that $20,000 because you can get single-use ones or ones that are in great shape for $5,000, $6,000 delivered. So are we looking to add a whole bunch of side doors in it, or modify it, or spray foam it, or what's the plan there? Because that cost seems a little bit out to lunch. But the overall idea, I do support. Thank you.
Through the chair, Director Boyko. Yes. No, we've already looked into it. It does have 4 doors that will be on it. So rather than having the 40-foot CCAN that Director Sparrow was talking about, it'll be 4 doors accessible on each side of that. And when I looked at the pricing, whether it's from custom cubes or keeping it locally with, sorry, now I get a gap on the name on it, but with Alberni Towing is $15,000 for the unit itself.
Terry, go ahead.
We just also added some costing in there for like some shelving that will need to go in to like organize within. So as much as that won't be directly to the cost of the CCAN, it will be to establish the storage program. So we did add a little bit of money in there for that component.
Thank you. Director Roberts?
Yes, Chief, through the chair. I would suggest that some of the things that you need to do besides spray foaming the interior, framing the interior perhaps, which is easily done, and also considerations for lighting and heat. So those are key components that you'll need for that to make it, keep it nice and dry and so on. So just food for thought. Correct. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Roberts. Director Cote, were you just helping Director Roberts? Yeah, okay. Okay. As much as Director Roth wanted to move it, would you like to do that now? Okay, please go ahead.
So I'll move that the Committee of the Whole direct staff to include proposed initiative case 7, Beaver Creek Fire Department CCAN for storage in the 2026 to 2030 draft ACRD financial plan.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Director Coots. Any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you for your presentation. That brings us to case 8, Sprout Lake Fire Department fireboat. This is what I was alluding to. Sorry.
Great, thank you. And this one will be Chief Ken.
Welcome, Chief Ken. Please go ahead.
Thank you. This is also my first time presenting. The Sprout Lake Fire Department is proposing adding a fireboat service to the Sprout Lake community in our fire protection. This boat would primarily operate on Sprout Lake. It would be housed in a houseboat on the lake, ready to go at a moment's notice. It would have an adequate pump big enough to be a floating fire hydrant for structure fires. I think, as everybody knows, we lack a water system. We have to do all of our hauling water to fires through tankers, and it gets pretty hard. It's pretty hard to do, and it takes up a lot of manpower, and it's almost like you're running two big operations when we are fighting a structure fire as a place that has a water system. So
great. Before we go to Director Cote, I just had one question. Are fireboats able to connect to fire trucks as well?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So you could keep them.
That would be the idea of this boat would be to go to where there was a structure fire. It's a landing craft type boat, pull up, drag the 4-inch hose from the engine down to it. Some of these places have like 1,000-foot long driveways that we'd have to supply water from the road down to it. We can just drag the hose from the engine down to the boat, hook it up, and then we'd have an endless supply of water to fight the fire.
Thank you. I thought it'd just be notable to say that out loud for everyone's benefit. Please go ahead, Director Cote.
Thank you. Just comment through the chair to the board. There was a appreciation event that I host every year on Monday, and there was 5 or 6 firemen. 7 present, and we talked with the community. We have APC, parks, broombusters, and a real spattering of volunteers from the community, and we discussed the fireboat, and it was explained to everybody what the value was and how it would work, and everybody was very supportive of it and excited that we could actually have this fireboat. I'd like to point out that Bamfield has a fireboat. A lot of other communities have fireboats. They're getting more and more common. The benefit would be huge to our community. Places that haven't been protected would be able to get fire protection. Dog Mountain Fire, we could have approached that and done some firefighting there. So yes, absolutely support this. It's been a request from the community for a long time. Any questions, or do you want me to make the motion?
If you want to make the motion, then we'll go to Director Coots.
Okay, I'd move that the Committee of the Whole direct staff to include proposed initiative case 8, Sprout Lake Fire Department fireboat in the 2026-2030 draft ACRD financial plan.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Director Johnson. Then we'll go to Director Coots and then Director Roberts for comment. Then Director Sparrow.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just kind of a curiosity question. Are these boats able to pull from the lake it's sitting on itself? And if that is the case, what is the Sprout Lake water takeout allowance? Like how many deciliters do you guys have?
I think for firefighting, there's no limit. So typically it'd be like 20-30,000 gallons for a structure fire. Hopefully we don't get many of those, but
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I'm pretty sure there's no limit for wildfire fighting. There may be for rivers and streams, but I don't know off the top of my head. Director Roberts and then Director Sparrow.
Through the chair, actually you found out what I was looking for, and that is a trailer that will make it and give you the ability to respond to other areas. So I just saw that. Thank you.
yes, absolutely.
Okay, Director Sparrow.
Yeah, I do support, there's no problem there. But like they were talking before about trying to integrate it with this boat, like Marine Patrol, which we could do, you could actually. Because if you had a boat lake firefighter on the boat at the time during summertime, like in the junior, it would be a member of the fire department trained to run the boat, and they utilize the boat at the same time, so you recognize that as you're responsible, and also helping the Marine in instances. So it worked both ways, and also it probably cut the cost down having that on the water as well as two boats in the water at the same time. If you had a breakaway because of a fire, well, you break away because of a fire. That's the way the mandate works.
Absolutely. And that would come down to, as we work through it, to put that proposal together. Right now, we work separately. But
exactly. If you work together, it'd be benefit for all because you'd have the boat on the water being recognized, you have your crews out there, and you'd be able to respond to motor's notice because you'd be on the lake itself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, Director Cote, last comment.
Yeah, even if it was separate services, they could work together. I think they'd both benefit from each other. The Marine Patrol for the Dog Mountain Fire helped to transport firefighters to Dog Mountain crews, and yeah, great benefit.
Okay, so it has been moved and seconded. So seeing no other comment, I'll ask all those in favor? All opposed? Okay, motion carried. Thank you. And thank you. Oh, Tom, sorry, I missed you completely.
No,
Oh,
no,
you
I
were
was I was just voting and trying to get my
Oh,
head.
yeah, okay. No, that's perfect. Okay. That brings us to case 9, general government IT overhead allocation. How exciting. Please go ahead, Terry.
Riveting one yet, and I get it. Okay, so general government has grown in value in the past number of years as some of those overhead type services such as IT and finance are grown. IT has grown in the last number of years due to cybersecurity as well as the number of staff that they are supporting. So this year staff are proposing that we take a look at the IT costs kind of as a sub-department and figure out what those are, and then figure out a formula that we can allocate over the other services to more fairly or more equitably allocate to the cost of the services. Does align with the Local Government Act. Every regional district does this completely differently, I would say. Everyone has their own formulas. They do different factors. Some of them are, I can't remember what regional district, but one regional district joked that they need a full-time FTE just to do their apportionment formulas, and I don't by any means want to get to that, but I think we could come up with a fairly simple formula for the board to consider that would then allocate those IT services kind of across the services that are demanding the IT's attention and time, because some services such as water systems require more IT support than like the Vancouver Island Regional Library service that really is just some costs. So just looking for some direction to kind of head in this direction. There'd be no extra costs associated with this, but you would see some decrease in costs in general government and increased in other services. And those increases in other services would depend on what formula the board decides to proceed with.
Okay, I have a question on that because this is the most exciting one. Would it be something like a bill back between departments? That's how you would maybe figure it out?
Yeah, so often it'll be like they'll figure it out by person. So each of our employees, their work is allocated over the services. So some people divide the IT costs by person. So they would simply divide it up by say 50 employees, and then you would take each person's breakdown and put it across that way. Other formulas I've seen, you actually kind of figure out on a scale of 1 to 5 how much IT support they use based on a discussion with IT, and you would kind of give them a weighting of the IT costs, and then every quarter finance would basically allocate whatever costs have gone through those IT across those other services, and it would be like an admin recovery charge. So it'd be like an internal revenue and expense passing. So when we look at the organization as a whole, it wouldn't be there, but you would have like a revenue, say in Beaver Creek, or an expense in Beaver Creek Water for IT, and you'd have a revenue in general government for IT admin overhead allocation.
Yeah, we do this for some of our departments within Huu-ay-aht, and we find that it is very valuable from a management perspective in finding who's using the lawyer a lot or that sort of thing.
Right.
And yeah, it's usually counsel. But the point I'm trying to make though is that we can do it because we're like a municipality. We can just decide to kind of do billbacks and that sort of thing. Are you more just tracking time and effort in regards to those resourcing? Because billbacks between services would be hard, but within general government would be okay, right? Like,
yeah, so in the Local Government Act, it basically says all costs associated with running a service should be charged through that service. So the interpretation of that is done by different regional districts in different ways. So some people will show, and I think this will probably be what I propose, is we actually show a service that looks like IT in our budget, but it'll be a tax requisition of 0, and those costs will have been then put through the other one. So we'll talk about the IT as a service, but it'll have no financial impact to it, and it'll be like an internal admin service.
that's why this is exciting. Okay, Daniel, go ahead.
I just wanted to add to this that there's this would be our first step in exploring this. There's a number of different areas that could end up being similar to this. And if you recall the CFIB report on efficiency, when we did have our follow-up discussions with those who did issue that report and did the study, what did come through is that those regional districts like us that have pooled more of these sub-services into general government, we're on the bottom end of efficiency, and those that have separated them out are on the top end. And that's because the formula they used looked at general government as one of those key factors as the pool for administrative costs. That's what they leaned on. So the more we tease things into appropriate services, tease things out of governance into appropriate services, the higher our efficiency quotient, if they redo this, should be. And so obviously the time required to try and tease everything out would be huge, but doing one at a time would make sense. And if CFIB does this efficiency report, again, what we should see is the ACRD moving up rather than down in that efficiency quotient.
Yeah, and it can be incrementally better or iteratively better every time we go through the process. Like, that's why it's exciting, everyone. Director Steer, please go ahead.
Yes, through the chair, I'm very supportive of this motion, and I would like to move that the Committee of the Whole direct staff to include proposed initiative case 9, general government IT overhead allocation in the 2026 through 2030 draft ACRD financial plan.
Okay, I was talking too much, sorry. Dr. Roth, go ahead.
I just second.
Oh, thank you very much. Okay, moved and seconded. Any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Okay, so that brings us to case 10, general government boardroom microphone audio setup or system upgrade.
Thank you very much. This proposed initiative case is to do with upgrading the audio-visual system in the boardroom. This initiative has been identified as a result of complaints about audio quality during live streamed meetings and playback of recordings. Our current system, it's working as designed, but of course it has limitations in the ability to pick up sound. Of course, if you're not speaking into a microphone, it doesn't pick you up very good. This would require a significantly more advanced system that will still incorporate The gooseneck microphones with the push to talk, but also with additional microphones that would be leveraged to pick up other audio when you're not speaking directly into the microphone. We've engaged multiple vendors for a ballpark estimate on this, and we've been given a number of approximately $150,000. The full design has not yet been developed, so the number could be subject to change, especially depending on how many existing components of our current system could be reused, or if it's going to be a wholesale replacement of the entire system.
Okay, thank you very much. Does anyone have any comments or questions? Oh, quite a few people do. Okay, Director Beckett, Director Steer, and then Director Byko.
Thank you. Someone like myself who tends to zoom in and work from home, I really value and appreciate the initiative to improve the technology in the boardroom. I am a little bit taken back at the potential costs for the technology. And I'm also wondering about the 100 hours. It seems like an awful lot. But again, perhaps staff could enlighten us on those two observations that I've made. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. So the cost, that's a really tough one to gauge. I didn't get a very good estimate from the vendors that we have engaged. It's not detailed by any means. My suspicion is why it is so high is because they've likely included a lot of screens. Most boardrooms that are getting built out now will have screens all around the horseshoe, if that's the shape of the room, that the directors, board members, committee members can use as part of the meetings. And my suspicion is that they are anticipating that that's what we want, even though I engaged them for a microphone audio system upgrade. So I believe that's why the number is so high. One of the vendors also said if we want to do it on the cheap end of the scale, it would be between 75 to 125,000. Again, I still believe that's probably incorporating a bunch of screens. Where it also gets tough is that we're looking at the audio system, but our audio system directly integrates into the camera system as well. So, for example, when we engage a microphone, the cameras pan and tilt and zoom in on the person speaking. So replacing the audio system will most likely also require a replacement of the video system, the camera system. There's a lot of back-end components for this as well that engage all these systems and allow them to talk together. With the staff time, that will largely vary whether we go with a vendor who is going to completely design this for us and implement it, or if IT needs to research all of these components, figure out which ones work together, which ones that we currently have will work with new systems. It can really be a large undertaking to investigate all of these technologies and see how they all work together.
So it's not just it's selecting the system is going to take some of those hours. And then I remember how long it took George and everyone to set up the system we have. So that's an issue as well. I've seen other First Nations have video systems for the same sorts of things. The most skookum one was probably in Nisga'a territory, and they paid about 150 grand for it a while back too. So that's money back then. It's probably more now. So I think that fits with my expectations. As disappointing as it may be, I think it is realistic. Okay, next up I have Director Steer and then Director Byko.
Yes, thank you through the chair. As one that does frequently use our Zoom option, I concur with Director Beckett. However, the price tag is a bit high. I think one of the challenges that I've noted using it is maybe it's an education of our directors within the boardroom in terms of the proper utilization of the microphones and the challenges that are associated with that. Otherwise, I'm quite happy with the system that has been in place, and I'm willing to forego every once in a while the occasional issue that may arise, especially at a price tag of $150,000, a potential price tag of $150,000. I would be supportive of just maintaining the status quo as was indicated in the alternative option in the pick.
Thank you, Director Steer. I have Director Boyko and then Director Coots.
Thank you, Chair. I have a very similar comment to what Councillor Steer just said. As I think it's an education thing with if you're looking to talk, you push the button in, and the problem's in the boardroom. Problem's not with the people who zoom in, because I normally zoom in as well. If you push the button to talk, you have to look at the microphone and talk to it, even though you want to look at Bertie over here and look at someone over here. For the benefit of everybody, including the public that's going to watch this afternoon and tonight, look at the microphone and just focus on that. So it's just an education thing. But for this $150,000, I'm not in support of that. This thing works very well, and it's only a problem with a couple people once in a while, but 99% of the time it works well. So I'll make a motion to not move forward with this pick. Thank you.
Okay. Would you like to second that, Director Steer? Okay. Director Coots, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just also wanting to echo the same comments from Director Steer and Director Boyko. I would be more curious to see what substantial cost savings we could have if we just spent an hour or two together as a group and have a bit of a run recon direction for us directors on how to utilize the microphones in a more sustainable fashion.
Okay. Thank you everyone for that. I'm just gonna have last comment. I think the reason why we put this on the list was because there were conversations around not necessarily the people who are on the meeting as panelists, but people watching afterwards wanted the overall context of the meeting as if they were in the room as well as seeing, because one thing when you're looking online, when you're watching these online, you can see what Director Steer emotes, even, you know, especially if I say way too much about something way too boring, you know, he sees that, right? And then whoever the audience is sees that. And that's why it was mentioned that they were talking about having passive microphones so that you can hear the rest of the room, even if it's not a red mic on, right? Which is fun because it's a hot mic, and you know that's part of the experience when you're in the gallery. So that was part of it. That was actually in the conversations that we had about a new system moving forward. So I just want to remind folks that that's why we were doing this. There are other cheaper ways to deal with this. I think the District of Euclid is not here, but they have a great solution for some of that, and that's having OWL type video cameras here. Those are still not inexpensive, but they would allow for us to add a whole nother 360 view of people in the boardroom, which would aid not only people watching online, but the context of whether or not, you know, John's blathering is boring other people too. And then you can call a point of order like Director Tony Bennett and go from there. Sorry, that's a joke for like me and Penny at this point. Yeah, so I want to thank you for the work that was being done. This is not a reflection on anything other than deep appreciation for the work that IT has done on this. So thank you. Okay, any further comments? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor of the motion? All opposed? Okay, motion carried. Alrighty. And thank you for getting the memo on the green shirt thing. That's good. Okay, so that brings us to the last case, case 11, General Government Reconciliation Events. And I don't know who's speaking to this actually.
I am.
Okay, please go ahead.
Thank you. So this is just, we've talked reconciliation and events, and we've had a bit of money over the years for different initiatives. But after the National Truth and Reconciliation Day, Sechelt First Nation had kind of put out an expression of that the walk is getting quite large and a little bit challenging for them to manage on their own. We've had some initial quick discussions with them, and they are looking for support, I think, from the city of Port Alberni and us. And we're not really sure if that's staff time and resources or financial at this point. I think the idea was to probably get a group together to kind of figure out how to talk about that and what we want to do moving forward to help support. So we're just looking for some direction about that. I think we've also talked about Indigenous Peoples Day in June, and if there's something that we want to do around there. So just formally asking the board for some support in moving forward with this for 2026.
Okay, I'm gonna echo a question I had for Daniel offline about this. This is specific to events. Is that correct, Daniel?
Yeah, so the reason why it's being presented as a financial impact of 10,000 that we'd see through taxation is that we do some reconciliation work, and there is a modest budget under reconciliation. However, we felt this was different in that it is a long-standing, it is meant to be a long-standing thing. It's not going to be a one-off. And the reconciliation budget that we have in place, we've actually used for initiatives that have come up, like the inclusive governance work, where we are able to maximize the value of a grant through also having our own funds that support that work. And so what we didn't want to do is tie down existing budget to a single event, potentially a single event, but instead recognize the request as a standalone request and bring it forward that way without encumbering the other things that do come up, because our region is large. There are 10 nations, and it's not just about collaborating with Tashot and Rupachesit in the Valley. There's other opportunities across. So that's why it's being shown as a standalone, and yeah, and so we just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Roth?
I'm not exactly sure about this, but I remember a grant need, and I think it was for Tashot, and it was for $10,000, and I think we turned it down. So I'm just wondering, would this be helpful in that respect?
I think that would be the case, and it was. I do believe it was turned down. I think there was an actually good reason for it too. I just can't remember what it was. But this would be like a general approach to reconciliation events in total, so that we're not using grants and aid in that sort of way. It bothers the ordered part of my brain to do that, and I think it does that for a lot of us here. So I think that's a good idea. I'll go Director Boyko and then back to Director Roth.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I remember a pick last year, and I believe it was for $20,000 for a very similar thing that we turned down. Basically, it's helping one group as opposed to helping everybody in the valley. And that's basically not as encompassing as it could be. And that was the reason we used last year. Thank you.
Thank you for the reminder. Hey, Dr. Roth, please go ahead.
I also wonder if maybe when it was a grant need, I sort of recall that they weren't a society or something like that. But anyways, I'm in favor of this. So would you like me to make the motion?
If you'd like, and then we'll go to Terry right after.
Or Terry, did you want to go first?
Go ahead, Terry.
Sure. So I think there's a couple things that we're remembering. So last year we had the Equitable Employment Initiative, which was a PIC that was then subject to grant funding, and we did actually secure grant funding and proceed with. And the PIC was presented as a partnership with Tashot, but that work has been expanded to include other nations in that discussion, and that was how we proceeded. I think the grant and aid was to do with the Canoe family, and the Canoe family was separate, and it was like it wasn't through Tashot, it was like the family itself, and it was to support their journey. And then the journey actually didn't even end up happening. So although we had presented the grant and aid, in the meantime they'd figured out that the whole event had been canceled, so we didn't proceed with that component of it. So just to clarify those two.
Yes, thank you for the reminder. And yeah, some of them happened to be Tashot, but that wasn't the point. Yeah, okay. Dr. Roth, would you like to move the motion?
Sure, I'll move that the Committee of the Whole direct staff to include proposed initiative case 11, general government reconciliation events in the 2026-2030 draft ACRD financial plan.
Thank you. Dr. Johnson seconds. Any further comments? Seeing none. All those in favor? All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Alrighty, so that brings us to the rest of the agenda, which there are no report. Oh, sorry. Please go ahead. Is there one more?
I do have a little bit more of a presentation just because I think there might be a couple of more.
Okay, please go ahead.
Thank you. So just to let you know that there is 3 picks that will be coming forward in the new year. So the Regional Parks Enforcement Maintenance Plan has been talked about a lot. It requires more than a 2-page pick. So that concept will be coming forward probably in January. The Echo Aquatic Center renovation is nearing the end of that project. So that will also be presented for consideration conversation and discussion about whether we're trying to move forward to a referendum in 2026. That will also be helped by the discussion that I believe is tomorrow. Is that tomorrow? Yes, about apportionment. And so there's a few pieces to kind of clear up before we take some direction on that. And then we'll also be bringing forward a pick for potentially getting some external office space. So more to come on those three. But I do appreciate all your input today. Just wanted to quickly go over the things we have not talked about. So we're not proposing a strategic land proposed service this year. We continue to struggle with the access road at Long Beach and the maintenance costs associated, but it just is hard to get it to the top of the priority list. And we don't think it would be eligible for grant funding very easily. So that has not been proposed. And then we had a delegation at November 26th about the visitor information services in the Alberni Valley, but no motion was made by the board at that time. So staff have left that off the pick list as well. Oh, thank you. I was trying to move that and I couldn't get it to move. So that makes me feel a lot better. Thank you, Cynthia. Now, I do think that a couple of directors potentially have some requests of things that they would like to add to the work plan. So I wouldn't mind if we could just take an opportunity to hear if there's any of those items for our staff to kind of try to incorporate into this 2026 plan.
So I see Director Boyko and then Director Cote and then Director Sparrow.
Thank you, Chair. I got two quick questions for you. Regional Parks, Log Train Trail Development of Enforcement Plan, blah, blah, blah. I noticed there's a change in wording there from talking about improving or fixing engineered assets, and the wording has now changed to necessary structure improvements. There is quite a big difference in that wording, and I'd like to understand what that means and have staff prepared to talk about that when that comes up. But are we basically looking at 3 more picks total for the 2026 budget year, and then that's it, Terry?
Yes, unless the directors are bringing up, that is it from staff this year. In terms of the log train trail description, that could have been finance's interpretation of what's going on. So I would wait for the report for that to see, because I filled out a lot of those descriptions of where we're at. So that could just be my choice of wording. Perfect. And my final question is, number 3, leasing office space. What is this for? Is this new office space for the entire, for ACRD, or what was it? What does this entail?
We'll have those details in the pick, but ultimately we've been systematically carving up office space and cramming more people into those spaces as we still work on the potential. As you'll remember, I think it was about 1.5 years ago now, we had a discussion around renovating this building or seeking a new site. We opt to seek a new site, but in the interim, we do have to ensure that we have space for staff. And we've been making do through some remote work initiatives, and also just with the timing of postings and bring people on. But we do now have and have advanced with bringing people into the office at least on Tuesdays. It's a team up Tuesday. And as we do that, there are the realities of people working in hallways and whatnot. So we are looking, and we do have a quote that we're going to bring forward for an additional 3 to 6 offices, and that'll be subject to discussion of the board.
Perfect. Thank you for the clarification, Daniel.
Okay, any further comments or questions or ideas? Yeah, so that is Director Cote and Sparrow.
Thank you. It's been identified by the community of Sprout Lake that they'd like to revisit incorporation study. They've been at it for almost 1 year now. So I'd like to add this to the work plan, to have staff look for a grant to either redo a incorporation study or revisit and update.
Okay, thank you.
Do you want that as a motion? I move that case 12 be Sprout Lake incorporation study review.
Okay, do you have a seconder? Thank you, Director Roth. Any further comments? Okay, all those in favor? All opposed? Okay, motion carried. Okay, Dr. Sparrow, please go ahead.
Thank you. I've got three to add. Just one, right? The Franklin River, where they had fire years ago and they've taken away. So I've been talking to them recently about that. And we've come up with two picks. One for Franklin River Road water service, because I found out there's 3 different agreements out there, or lack of agreements out there. So that needs to be made in an area so we can actually get one agreement for the area so we know what we're dealing with, because depends where you are, if you have water or don't have water and can subdivide the water. So we need to work on that is one. So I make that a motion and then get that passed and keep continuing.
Well, I think what we're doing is we're passing motions to have a report done, and then we would officially add them as picks. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah, because then a report can be done. Then when we meet in January, then there would be another pick meeting, and we'd add those.
Okay, so I make a motion that we look at Franklin River water.
Yeah, like
Okay.
add it to the agenda, like something like that. Yeah.
That sounds official. We'll do that.
Yeah. Looks like it's black and yellow.
Sterling Fire Department installing the Jeep back.
Oh, it's the Port Alberni guys. They're hitting it up. No, I'm kidding. Okay. Please.
So I'll make that as a motion that we open up the service area for Franklin River water.
Okay, and I'll second that. Any further comments? Okay, all those in favor? All opposed? Okay, motion carried.
Number 2, Franklin River again for their fire service that was discontinued. I'd like to make that in a service area and try reestablishing that. I got good groundswell from people out there to do that. And since we're doing water connections with fire service too, so I'd like to do that too.
You're not supposed to make sense on these, just so you know. It's government work. Okay, thank you. Do we have a seconder? Okay, thank you, Dr. Roth. Any further comments? Okay, all those in favor? Okay, motion carried. Thank you.
And my third one for the day would be Cherry Creek Community Hall, to make that into a service area so they can apply for grants and continue on. And then get them out of the grant need I'm doing right now.
Okay, thank you. Is there a seconder? Okay, Dr. Roth seconds. Any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion carries. All right, so those will have full reports and those will be added for discussion at whenever the next pick meeting is going to be. Okay, any further comments? I had one in regards to, is there a formalized initiative of the whole region to talk about retention and attraction of medical personnel? And should there be something, or are we doing it okay through the way that we're doing it? That was the only thing that I came up with that felt like it had regional importance, or at least Alberni Valley importance. But given the decision about the Tofino Hospital, I think it's of regional importance now. Go ahead.
I would say we currently don't have a focused approach on that one. It's this corner of a desk sort of approach. It would make sense to bring back a pick and talk about what that initiative could look like if we put some resources behind it. So I would say, yes, let's make that pick number 16.
Yeah, if we could take a look at it. I wanted to specifically ask Dr. Steer, who is now offline, what his thoughts were on that. But to make it either regional or Alberni Valley in its focus, I think West Coast Journal is going to continue to service the whole region as a result of unfortunate decisions at the provincial level. So I'd like to move that we add that for consideration at our next meeting.
I'll second that. I agree 100%. Thank you for bringing it up.
Seconded by Dr. Haggard, but thank you, Dr. Coots. Any further comments? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor? All opposed? Okay, motion carried. Please continue, Terry.
Okay, I just want to do over the next step. So we will bring those 5 back before this February. So the draft financial plan will be presented in a COW format on February 12th, 2026, but we will bring back these 5 in January for a little bit more robust of a discussion in advance of that. So more to come. And I also just wanted to let you know that we have created a Let's Connect platform on the regional district website this year to try to get a bit more engagement on the financial plan from the public. So it is up and running, including there is a bit of a survey on there that is mostly talking about how would you like to be engaged? What are you interested in? And what ways would you like to be talked to about the budget? So please, we are going to be doing a bit more of a social media push here. So I know that some of you have your own individual pages, so please push because we'd like to get some action on the page, and we'll continue to add documents as we go through. And that is all for me, and I appreciate your time, and I feel like we got some good direction today, so that's great.
Thank you, Terry. And I want to say some of the images in your presentation were just gorgeous. And I think I'm just going to remind people it's the end of the year now. If people want to go through their camera rules and submit them to, I guess, Heather Thompson, we can always have good benefits of having a good stock images, because that sunset or sunrise really knocked my socks off when I saw it on the screen as well. So so thank you, everyone. We could go through, there are no reports, there's no late business. Question period, is there anything in the email?
There's no email, there's nobody in the audience that is not staff.
Okay.
Thank you.
So could we have a motion to adjourn? Thank you, Dr. Ross, seconded by Dr. Johnson. Any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion carried. And thank you to the IT guys and fire chiefs, and please stay for lunch if you want to. Okay, thanks.